Hello and welcome to New Thought Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Shelley Walker and it is a joy to be with you today. Reverend Shannon sends her love to you and she has chosen a very special guest speaker for us today. It's our very own practitioner, ministerial student, and all-around amazing human being, Sarah Forbes, and she's going to bring us the inspiration. It's going to be so good. If you're with us for the first time, know that you've stepped into a community that considers itself spiritual but not religious. We are an inclusive, progressive, and compassionate spiritual community, and we're dedicated to social justice and helping to create a world that works for all people. And all people are welcome here. Every life expression, all faith paths, we are an affirming community. And not only are you welcome, but we've created a place for you, just as you are. You are welcome here. So take a breath, relax, and settle in as we anchor our time together in prayer. With this next breath, allowing your eyes to gently close. As we rest for a moment in the peace and the love and the grace that resides within. There is an infinite power that is everywhere present. Therefore, it is right where we are. There is an infinite love, a grace, a peace that is everywhere present and right where we are. Infinite possibility, universal presence, love. And in this place of love, of power, of grace, of peace, I speak a word of blessing on this time together as each of us arrives in this place at this time for the purpose of coming to know more of this universal love, more of this peace, more of this grace, that it can find a dwelling place in our lives and in the world through us. And so for this activity of the divine this day, I am truly grateful. For the activity of love on this planet today, I am deeply grateful. And for the activity of peace in our lives, and as we be this peace on the planet, I am deeply grateful for all of it and more. We let it be. Blessed, blessed be. And so it is. Well, beloveds, I have a couple of really important announcements for you. Please remember that next Sunday, May 30th, our service times are changing. Our service is going to be at 11 o'clock Pacific time, and it's going to be live streamed directly on our YouTube channel. So make sure that you have liked and subscribed to our YouTube channel to make it really easy for you to find that live stream if you're not going to be with us on site next Sunday. Also, next Sunday is our Baby, Child, and Teen Blessing. This is your last chance to sign up for that. If you have a baby or a child or a teen in your life and you'd like to experience our version, our New Thought version of a christening, you can email office@newthoughtcsl.org for all the info. A reminder that there's no Zoom chat today, May 23rd. That'll be back next week. But we do have our evening event tonight. Make sure if you're local that you are signed up to reserve your spot for that. It's going to be an amazing evening with different people bringing their own inspirations and what's important and inspiring to them, and amazing music with April Krubell and the New Thought Messengers. So make sure you're signed up for that, or catch the live stream that starts at 6:30 Pacific time tonight. In a quick reminder, we have our Wednesday night meditations every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. West Coast time, and those are on Zoom. Check out all the details on our site, newthoughtcsl.org. And this is our time for spiritual practice, so I invite you to take another breath. And before we move on to our meditation time, this week is the 1-year anniversary of the murder of George Floyd. And so we'd like to take a moment of silence to honor his life. I invite you in this moment to pray for his family, his loved ones, and everyone, all who have been impacted by his death in whatever way feels comfortable for you in this moment. So we take a breath. Blessed be, and so it is. And staying in this centered place where compassion meets presence, I invite Elizabeth Harper to lead us in a meditation for peace in our world.
Allowing yourself to connect within, with the breath, with the love that resides within, I invite you to locate the presence of peace in your body. Where does peace reside in you? Locate that place within you that resonates with peace. Allowing this peace to radiate in you, allow it to expand, to fill your body, your heart, your mind with a deep feeling of peace. Invite anything in you that doesn't resonate with this peace into the light. And now allow this peace to radiate out from within you to the world around you. Peace. Allow the promise of peace to radiate out into the world. Invite peace into your life. Ask peace to inform your world. Ask peace to stake its claim in your life, in the world. Take a breath, let it go. And so it is. We have a very special guest musician with us today, a longtime friend of the community, Daniel Nehmod. You can find his music on his website, danielnehmod.com, as well as streaming services everywhere. Please welcome Daniel Nehmod.
Hello, my friends in Portland. It's Daniel Nehmod here in Orange County, California. Been too long since I've had a chance to visit and sing for you in person, but at least I get a chance to sing for you from a distance and say hello and tell you I'm thinking of you and hope you're doing well and feeling well. The Nehmod family here is coming out of its involuntary hibernation, and all kinds of exciting things happening for us. My boy Jude is now 9 and starts camp in a couple weeks, and he's counting down the minutes. And all kinds of fun things happening. So sending you lots of love, and I hope you enjoy the music this morning that I have planned for you. Thanks for having me too. The weather, the waves, the cliffs, the caves, the mountains, changing every day. The seasons, the clouds, the stars come out each night in a slightly different way. Oh, then what do I know? Constant is my soul, constant is the sun, constant is the love of the one. I can feel my heart beating like a drum. One mystery ends and another's begun. I'm watching the world spin beyond my control, but constant is my soul. The visions, the hopes the life I've known could be gone. Everything changes by the day. The aches, the pains, the dreams down the drain again, leaving darkness in their wake. Oh, then what do I see? Constant is my soul, constant is the sun, constant is the love of the one. I can feel my heart beating like a drum. One mystery ends and another's begun. I'm watching the world spin beyond my control, but constant is my soul. And why do I fear another new beginning when I already know each ending is coming in its perfect time and way? Constant is my soul, constant is the sun, constant is the love of the one. I can feel my heart beating like a drum. One mystery ends and another's begun. Constant is my soul, constant is the sun, constant is the love of the one. I can feel my heart beating like a drum. One mystery ends and another's begun. I'm watching the world spin beyond my control. I'm watching the world spin beyond my control. But constant is my soul, constant is my soul. Oh yeah, constant is my soul. Thanks.
Wow, thank you, Daniel Nehmod. That was beautiful. We are so blessed to have you with us today. Speaking of blessed, I am very honored to have been asked to speak this Sunday. My talk title today is The Stories We Tell. Many of us tell stories to entertain each other and to sometimes effectively get a point across. And while it is so valuable that we entertain one another, stories do much more for us than that. They shape us and they shape the world around us. The narratives that play out in our mind, whether we share them or keep them to ourselves, provide meaning for us, and they shape our identity and our reality. Narrative identity theory states that the ways in which we craft and tell our stories are directly associated with our quality of life. Evidence shows that telling stories in a positive light with a redemptive focus actually affects beneficial consequences and furthers the overall well-being of the storyteller. A recent study had students write about important life events with a focus on redemptive qualities. So, for example, they could highlight an initial failure and talk about how it ultimately led to a better outcome. In comparison with control groups who were not prompted in this way, the students who were demonstrated greater goal persistence over time and also expressed a deepening sense of satisfaction in their lives. So researchers concluded that not only is it possible to shape our personal narratives, the study also showed us that the ways in which we think about and talk about important life events significantly influences our lives moving forward. As many philosophers have said for many, many years, there is a sense in which we construct our reality. The world is truly what we make of it. In the teachings of New Thought, we understand ourselves as conscious and creative centers of life. Our beliefs, which inform the narratives we tell, directly impact what we experience and do construct our reality. Last week, I was experiencing a lot of chest pain. And so after a call with the advice nurse, I decided to go to the emergency room. And on the way over there, I couldn't help but think of my family history with pulmonary embolisms. A pulmonary embolism is a blood clot that gets lodged in the artery of the lungs. And not only did I believe I had a blood clot because of my family history, I also believed I had one because of my symptoms. Once I arrived at the hospital, the nurses began running all sorts of tests. I had an EKG done, x-rays, and blood work. And given the nature of the tests and the questions that were being asked, it became solidified in my mind that it was a blood clot. It felt inevitable that this was the cause of my pain. I was in that hospital room for a long time. At first, my mind was searching for meaning, trying to cling to something familiar, something that felt certain, even if that was a pulmonary embolism. But after some time, I began to sort of step outside of myself, and I realized that I was just waiting, that I didn't really know anything. I asked myself, Sarah, what would you do if a friend called you and said, hey, I'm in the emergency room, I feel like I have a blood clot, I'm really scared. Would you tell that friend, oh yeah, that's definitely what that is, you should be scared? No, that's not what I would do. I would stop what I was doing and I would imagine light within them and all around them, and I would claim their divine wholeness. And I knew in that moment that I could be scared, but do that same thing for myself. So I imagined myself enveloped in white light, and I felt the vibration of love that is source, that is God, fill my being. And a few moments later, the doctor came in with my results and he said, your tests look great and your lab work all came back negative. I felt so much gratitude for the care that I was given that day, but I also felt so much gratitude for my time waiting alone in that hospital room. I left that day without any more information about the pain in my chest than when I walked in, but I left feeling present and open to possibilities. Doesn't it feel like in this pandemic, we've all been in that waiting room? Waiting to be with friends and family, waiting for schools to reopen, waiting for herd immunity, waiting for businesses to reopen, waiting to be in community again. It is important for us to be mindful of the stories that we cling to during this time. Last week, Rev Shannon gave an amazing talk, and she highlighted a story of the potential for humanity right now. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend that you do. And she urged us to be mindful at this juncture and to be present to what it has to offer. We are in a waiting period, a time of transition. So we are in a space between all that has come before and all that is yet to come. If we are not mindful of how we frame this time, we might not get where we want to go. The way that we have been living up until now is no longer sustainable. This pandemic has been hard and it has been tragic, but it has granted us pause. It has given us a space to reframe what has taken place and to create a new world. We can so clearly see that the old stories are crumbling. The story that we must compete with one another to survive. The story that we must rule by fear and violence. The story of rugged individualism. The story that my life matters more than yours. And ultimately, the story that we are separate from one another and separate from the world that we inhabit. We must find a way as Dr. Bruce Lipton, biologist and epigeneticist, said, "To walk outside of the old story and build a new story so that we can have a spontaneous remission of the planet's ills." So how do we walk mindfully outside of our old story? How do we use this transition period to create a world that works for everyone? When I was alone in that hospital room, I moved through 3 steps. I acknowledged my old story, and I was present to my feelings, to the fear that was coming up, and I didn't try to shove it away. I allowed it to be there. And then I shifted to a new narrative. In order to walk outside of our old story mindfully and untap the healing power of storytelling, we must be willing to face all that we're being called to face right now and all of the feelings that emerge. This way, we can authentically integrate and heal the wounds of our past. We are not going to be able to spiritually bypass our way into spontaneous remission. It doesn't work that way. We have to tell ourselves a story that honors our past and our feelings, and then that carries us forward into something greater and into something brighter. There are typically basic elements of a story. The usual story has a main character or a group of people who are trying to solve a problem, and they come across a helper or a guide, and then they come up with a plan of action. Pretty soon, they're met with the threat of failure, but ultimately, they overcome that threat and they attain success. Studies have shown that the elements of this story, the basic elements of a story, lead the storyteller and the one who's listening through a range of emotions, having them go from fear and suspense and then later into hope and relief. And as the storyteller and the listener are moving through these feelings, there are hormones being released, the hormones of cortisol and oxytocin. And so studies further show that the combination of these hormones being released helps us to integrate and process painful experiences. Studies also reveal that when we tell stories, it organizes our thoughts, and this helps us to integrate our trauma. We all collectively have been through a global trauma. And we can integrate and heal through this experience if we tell ourselves a story that bridges humanity from fear and belief in separation to love and connection. Many ancient and older civilizations knew the healing power of stories. And so they told them to establish meaning and to purposefully and gracefully process painful experiences and also to positively impact their future and future generations. Joseph Campbell, professor and author of comparative mythology and religions, writes, "It has always been the prime function of mythology to supply the symbols that carry the human spirit forward, in counteraction to all that tends to tie it back." From ancient mythology to personal narratives to modern novels, stories have always had the power to influence the mindsets of generations. Stories have never just been about documenting what happens. More importantly, they have been about weaving into the fabric of reality new possibilities. For many years, we have been playing out the archetypal stories of the destroyer versus the hero. And so we have been at war with one another for many years. For those of you who don't know what archetypes are, they are the reoccurring symbols and motifs featured throughout mythology and literature. And the archetypal destroyer has been played out in our media for a long time, urging us to choose our heroes. The problem is that different media sources depict different destroyers and different heroes, further dividing us and perpetuating that cycle of being at war with one another. I believe that we are being called to something higher, that we are being called to join with one another and move towards a benevolent force, to move toward unconditional love. Walking outside of the old story, as Bruce Lipton put it, takes faith, it takes courage, and it takes integrity. It is not easy to honestly look at the stories that we've been telling each other and telling ourselves. We have to ask ourselves what our stories are rooted in. So rather than perpetuate the cycle of division that we see and build cases for whose stories are right and whose stories are wrong, we must ask ourselves which stories are rooted in fear and which stories are rooted in love. Let's look at some of the potential stories that we've seen throughout this pandemic. There is the story that our government is plotting against us. There is the story that if we meditate enough, we will raise our vibration and shift to a new dimension. There is the story that science will be the resounding savior. And there is the story that we are all moving through this to build a world that is kinder and more loving. We gravitate towards the stories that we do because of our childhood and our past experiences. And so we have to ask ourselves now, what story truly serves us at this juncture? How can we reframe the narratives during this transition period to move towards what we are being called to move towards? Towards that awareness of the interconnectedness of all of life. I know that during this time of great uncertainty and trauma, that I have gravitated towards stories of fear. And it is warranted that we entertain these types of stories, and we have all been through a lot. But again, if we want to bridge that gap and bridge humanity from fear to love, then we have to reframe the narrative. Dr. Greg Sawyer, the president of the Philosophical Research Society, said, "This pandemic is ours. It belongs to us. Or better yet, we belong to it." When we tell the story of this pandemic, will it be one of redemption? Will we frame our experiences so that this pandemic belongs to us and us to it? I'd like to lead you through a process now. I want you to imagine that you're in a garden. And in your garden, there are flowers and plants of all varieties. There are birds and squirrels and worms and flies. Take a moment to just be there and notice the diversity. What do you see? And then I want you to observe how all these different organisms are working together in harmony to create something beautiful. Now take a moment to see yourself as part of it. What do you do first to contribute to this garden? How does it feel to be part of this system? Where do you feel that in your body? And now, what do you feel that you've gained from being here? When you feel ready, bring your attention back to the space that you're in. Consider for a moment that you frame this pandemic in a way that we overcome all obstacles and we learn to work together in harmony to create something beautiful, just like this garden. How amazing would that be? I invite you this week to spend some time considering the narratives that you've gravitated towards during this pandemic. Are they rooted in fear or are they rooted in love? And be gentle with yourself. This has been a challenging time. Ask yourself, how can I write a new story? One that is rooted in love. I know that together we can reframe the old narrative and we can tell a story that shapes our future so that we truly do bridge humanity from fear and belief in separation to awareness of the truth of our oneness. And now on that breath, I invite you to join me in prayer. It is so clear to me that we are all one, that the vibration of love that is God, that is Source, that is known by many names, is the fabric of our reality now. I know that we are interconnected, and I know that this time of waiting, this sacred liminal space, has been a time to gain clarity, to create a world that works for everyone. And it is on this breath and in this knowing that all is holy and that all is sacred, that I bless this community. I bless all who are watching now. I bless all people of all faiths, of all backgrounds. Again, knowing that we are interconnected, that we are all one. And it is with deep gratitude that I release this time, knowing that it was blessed, knowing that all that transpired was held in love. And so I simply surrender it into that loving presence that is God, that is Source, that is light, and I let it be. Blessed be, and so it is.
Thank you so much, Practitioner Sarah, for that beautiful inspiration and that incredible grounding prayer. This is our time for conscious giving, and I'd like to thank you for being someone who helps to support the work of this community on the planet, this work of embracing and learning about and anchoring in the infinite power of love, and then using that power to transform our lives and the world, and help make that world a better place for all people. So thank you for supporting that very important work. There are many different ways you can give. They're all on our website. You can text to give at 503-966-3236, or you can give right there on our site. But whatever is yours to give, just know that it's received with gratitude and with love. And so let's take a moment and speak a word of blessing on this gift. From the love of pure spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and bless and prosper. It does good work in the world and returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. And now, the wonderful Daniel Nehmod.
Once more, knocking on a locked door, wondering why I try for anything at all. Ran hard, worked it with my whole heart, reaching for that last part. Once again, I fall. I've never had an easy climb. Still, it's up to me to decide. I will carry on. I will carry on. 'Cause hope is never gone. And hope is never wrong. It's time to take the leap beyond what I can see. And here I go again. One deep breath, and then I will carry on. Once more, crashing through that closed door. Won't sit still, not anymore. This is my time. Which way am I headed today? I don't care what they say. The decision is mine. I may not have an easy climb, but I have made up my mind. I will carry on. I will carry on. Hope is never gone, and hope is never wrong. It's time to take the leap beyond what I can see. Here I go again. One deep breath, and then I will carry on. The world will say give up, but I will not give up. 'Cause this is what I've always dreamed of. So if it takes a lifetime, well, that's how long I'll wait until I see that day. Yeah. I will carry on. I will carry on. 'Cause hope is never gone, and hope is never wrong. It's time to take the leap beyond what I can see. Here I go again. One deep breath, and then I will carry on. Oh, I will carry on. Oh, yeah. I will carry on.
Thank you so much, Daniel Nehmod. Thank you, practitioner Sarah Forbes, everyone who makes these videos possible. Y'all remember, next week we have a time change. We're going to be live streaming at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and we will have Reverend Shannon back next week. Incredible music. You are not going to want to miss it. Oh, and the baby blessing. It's going to be so special. So we'll see you then. And until then, this is our time for our final blessing. May you go in the light, as the light, and with the light until we meet again. May the longtime sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide you on your way. You are loved. We'll see you next time.